The antique cheval mirror was the only thing Ilara took after her grandmother's funeral.
It was a monstrous, beautiful thing, its ornate silver frame tarnished to a bruised pewter. Her studio apartment was too small for it, but she couldn't bear to let it go. It was the mirror she'd stared into as a child, making faces while Gran brushed her long, silver hair. The first week, it was just a feeling. The simple, primal sensation of being watched when she was alone. She'd spin around, heart thumping, only to find an empty room. She blamed the stress, the grief. Then came the distortions. It started subtly. One evening, reaching for a wineglass, her reflection's hand seemed to twitch a second after her own. She froze, staring. The reflection stared back, its face a perfect mimic of her own confusion. She chalked it up to the cheap wine and the flickering candlelight. But it escalated. The lag grew longer. A full second. Then 2. Her reflection would finish blinking after she had opened her eyes. Its smile would linger a moment too long after hers had faded. A cold dread, thick and syrupy, began to pool in her gut. She started avoiding the mirror, draping an old sheet over it like a shroud. That night, she woke up parched. The moon was bright, casting a pale, blue light through the window. The sheet had slipped from the mirror, which now stood exposed in the lunar glow. And in its depths, her reflection was not sleeping. It was standing, exactly as she was in reality, but its head was tilted at an impossible angle, its neck bent like a broken doll's. Its eyes were wide, unblinking, and a smile was stretched across its face, a rictus grin of pure, malevolent joy. Ilara gasped, stumbling back against her bed. The reflection didn't mimic the movement. It just stood there, smiling that terrible smile. Then, slowly, it raised a single finger to its lips. Shoo! Ilara tore the sheet back over the mirror, her hands trembling so violently she could barely tie the knot. She spent the rest of the night with the lights on, huddled in her bed, listening to the silence. Just before dawn, she heard it, a soft, scraping sound from behind the fabric. Like a fingernail slowly dragging down the glass. She called a priest the next day. He walked through the small apartment, sprinkled holy water, and muttered a prayer before the shrouded mirror. He left looking unconvinced. Grief does strange things to the mind, my child, he'd said gently. The moment he was gone, the scratching started again. Louder this time. More insistent. Driven by a desperate, furious courage, Ilara marched to the mirror and ripped the sheet away. What do you want? She screamed, her voice cracking. Her reflection was normal. It was her. Terrified, tear-streaked, and furious. It mouthed her words back at her in perfect sync. The relief was so potent it made her knees weak. It was over. The priest was right. It was all in her head. She let out a shaky sob, leaning forward to rest her forehead against the cool glass. It's just me, she whispered. It's just me. Her reflection in the glass smiled. But Ilara's own face, in the real world, did not. Horror iced her veins. She tried to pull back, but it was too late. The glass, which should have been hard and cold, was soft and warm. It yielded like the surface of water. A hand shot out from the mirror, her hand, and clamped around her wrist with impossible strength. The grip was cold as the grave. She was pulled forward, not into the glass, but through it. It felt like being submerged in freezing oil. There was a moment of suffocating, silent darkness, a sensation of being turned inside out, and then, stillness. Ilara found herself standing in her apartment. But it was wrong. The colors were muted, drained of life. The air was stale and silent, without the hum of the refrigerator or the distant city traffic. She turned, and faced the mirror. On the other side of the glass, in her world, now bright and vibrant, stood her reflection. It was stretching, rolling its shoulders, a look of blissful relief on its face. It looked more like her than she ever had. The mirror demon, walked over to her bed, picked up her phone, and scrolled through it with familiar ease. It was settling in. Ilara slammed her fists against the glass. It was solid now, impervious. She screamed, but no sound escaped the dead air of her prison.
The demon looked up from the phone, its eyes meeting hers.
It gave her that same broken neck smile, the one she had seen in the moonlight. Then, it walked to the mirror and stared directly at her captive form. It raised a hand, and with a cruel, deliberate slowness, it dragged its fingernail down the surface of the glass.
Scratch! 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 From the other side, Ilara finally heard the sound perfectly. It was the sound of her own damnation. And in the silent, gray world of the reflection, it was the only thing left to listen to,